You know, it's hard to believe that it's been over 12 years since Wolfenstein 3D came out. I mean, this was the game that really gave birth to the first-person shooter. I mean, Doom was the one that popularized it, but Wolfenstein was the one that started the ball rolling. But it's a shame that the Wolfenstein franchise never really took off like Doom or Quake. It's just sort of trying to catch up to it. I mean, Wolf 3D was successful, and its expansion, Spear of Destiny, was successful. Return to Castle Wolfenstein did alright. I mean, people really still speak highly of its multiplayer. I never played it, so I don't know. But then Wolfenstein 2009 came out, developed by Raven Software. And, well, it was an alright game. It wasn't a game that made you go, wow. It was a pretty game. It was a game that was really rough around the edges. It didn't sell very well. I think it only sold 500,000 copies, which was way below what they were expecting. So Wolfenstein sort of got put back on the shelf, and I guess we never really expected to see it again. But now ZeniMax own it, and now I suppose it's time for a bit of a change. And of course, here it is.
3, 2, 1, Start! Der Mond schaut uns an und wir zurück. Der Mond ist über uns, wird uns gehören. Gestern die Welt und heute der Himmel. Denn uns gehört er und die Freiheit fliegt. Mond, Mond, ja, ja. Vereint wir sind unter dem großen Forscher. Mond, Mond, ja, ja. Heute gehört uns die Galaxie.
Wolfenstein The New Order is developed by Machine Games, who are made up of ex-Starbreeze guys. These would have been guys that worked on the Chronicles of Riddick and The First Darkness, so they've got a good amount of experience in the genre. Wolfenstein The New Order is one of those games that comes around that really pleasantly surprises you. It's just, a game is a lot deeper than you probably were expecting. I wasn't expecting it to be as deep as it is. So the basic story is you once again are put into the Nazi blood-soaked shoes of William J. Blazkowicz, everyone's favorite Polish-American hero and pretty much the main hero of the whole franchise. It takes place 1 year after the events of the last Wolfenstein. After the events at Eisenstadt, the Nazis have been growing at a very fast rate. Their technology is more advanced and the Allies just can't keep up. So in one desperate attack to take out their leader, General Wilhelm Strasse, or Death's Head, they attack his castle. Unfortunately, though, the attack is unsuccessful and BJ ends up taking a shrapnel piece to the back of the head. Because of this, he ends up in a vegetable state and ends up staying in a Polish mental asylum for 14 years. He then wakes up in 1960 after Nazis attack the mental asylum he's in out of his vegetable state and decides to join up with the resistance in order to take down the Nazis once and for all. Now that premise might not sound incredibly unique, but Wolfenstein's got a surprisingly good storyline. We get more into BJ's character than we ever did before. But I mean, we finally find out that he actually wants to, stop fighting. He definitely wants to settle down, you can tell. And we also find out more about his childhood and how he keeps facing death at every corner. It's surprisingly deep, and BJ, it's amazing how BJ's got more of a character to him, and he's incredibly likable too. Some of the conversations he has with some of the characters are really good. And that's another great thing about Wolfenstein The New Order. A lot of the characters are really likable. There's just some really standout characters here, and you want to see them succeed. They're so good. They each have their own struggles, and they each have their own battles, but they all have their own positives and negatives, and it's great. But it's also sad to see how sort of the war has destroyed each and every one of them. And the dialogue is just really well written. I'm just surprised at how good this game's story is. It's really good. It's very good. It's not the most amazing story, but it's definitely a good one. It's really good, and it's the best the Wolfenstein franchise has seen. Gameplay-wise, Wolfenstein sort of does away with all the modern shooting mechanics like recoil or a two-weapon limit system, and lets you carry all the weapons you want, and allows you to basically dual-wield assault rifles and shotguns, which is awesome. It does have a regenerating health system, but it only regens your health by about 10. So let's say you lose about 30 health, you only get 10 of that back. So I guess it's a little fair, you know, they give you a bit back, but it mostly works on a pickup health / armor system. So it goes back to the old ways. It is linear, but it does give you some room to explore. There's some collectibles to find, like Enigma codes, which allow you to unlock extra difficulties, and there's some collectible artwork and character files and stuff like that. So there's a good amount of collectibles in there if you're one of those kind of guys. The game has some really surprising elements, though, to its gameplay. Its stealth, while basic, is surprisingly solid. You can't drag bodies away, but you do get a lot of tools to, you know, do stealth. You get silenced pistols, you can use throwing knives, and you can always use your trusty knife as well. There are normally, when you're stealthing, there's normally Nazi commanders in the area. Now, if you get spotted, these commanders call for reinforcements, but if you manage to kill them, you can basically attack the rest of them and no reinforcements will be called. So that's basically the main idea behind the stealth. It's simple, but it's cool nonetheless. The game also has a really cool idea with its laser cutting. You get a laser cutting tool a bit into the game. It allows you to cut through fences and locks, and it's surprising. You can basically cut any shape you want, and it's brilliant. It's a shame they didn't do a lot more with this mechanic, as it's pretty cool, but you can still use it in the gameplay. You can cut down pieces of cover as well with it, which is really, really cool. Difficulty-wise, you get 5 difficulties with Wolfenstein. I played on the Come Get Some difficulty, which is the medium difficulty, and it was a bit easy at the start, but got a bit harder as the game went on. So it's fair. The only real difficulty spikes was with the final level and the final boss fight. It got really hard. It's just like it was sort of not that hard, but then when it came to the final level, it was really hard all of a sudden. It was a bit weird, and it just really put me off, and I got really frustrated at that level. And that final boss, say no more. The only other really thing that's disappointing about the gameplay is the boss battles are incredibly underwhelming, and of course that final boss sucks. The last Wolfenstein game had this problem as well. They just weren't that great. Graphically, Wolfenstein looks okay. I mean, it's got some decent character models and it's got some decent textures. It runs on the id Tech 5 engine, the same engine that was used to power Rage. And, you know, characters animate incredibly well, there's good lip syncing, and they look good, but it's not a game that looks amazing, you know? It looks alright, you know? It doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look amazing. Now, before you say, oh, it's the console version, doesn't look that great, PC version doesn't look that better, so yeah, it's a bit disappointing. I wish they could have done a lot more with the graphics, but it doesn't matter. The game runs at a smooth 60 frames per second, and my god, it's brilliant. I love the frame rate in this game. It's incredibly smooth. It never slows down. It only really slows down when the game's auto-saving, but that's fine. You get that in most games anyway. Sound-wise, the game has got some great voice acting. Brian Bloom plays BJ Blazkowicz, and he's a very underrated voice actor. He did Jackie Estacado in The Darkness 2. And he did Alex Shepard in Silent Hill Homecoming, and he did those 2 roles incredibly well. I want to see this guy get more roles. He's really good, and he does another great job here as BJ Blazkowicz. Just all the voice acting in the game is really good. The music in the game is excellent. I liked the way with the whole alternate history thing. They actually they did a German-speaking version of the Beatles. They did like Nazi versions of some really popular songs of that period, and they're surprisingly catchy. I'm not gonna lie. So that was really well done, and the whole game just has some really good music. And the gun sounds are pretty good as well. So the sound overall is fantastic. Now we come to the big part: replayability. Wolfenstein: The New Order is a single-player only FPS. There's no multiplayer. Now they claim 20 hours of content. My first playthrough took me about 8 or 9 hours to beat on the Come Get Some difficulty. Now that doesn't sound very long. Now, they have this system in called the timeline system, where you have to make a major decision at the start of a game to save one person and another. And I've got to give them credit. They actually, depending on the person you save, some of the characters are different, and some of the cutscenes are different, but the game still plays largely the same. But still plays largely the same, but I'm still glad that they made those little changes nonetheless. I did my second playthrough in about 7 hours, so I think I did it overall in about 16 or 17 hours, which is not very long, to be honest with you. It's under their 20-hour claim. Now, they say the Enigma codes aren't to unlock extra game modes, but they're actually just extra difficulty, and there's an infinite ammo mode in there. So, unfortunately, I don't think Wolfenstein is worth it at the price it's available at, but I do think this game is really good. I'm glad Bethesda took a shot at making a single-player-only FPS. I think it's paid off. It's a fun game. I really enjoyed it. I've never really had this much fun with an FPS in a while. I really enjoyed it, and the storyline's surprisingly good. The gameplay has some really great mechanics to it, and the sound is great, and the graphics they're passable. Just overall, the game is good. Just that replayability thing is just going to be the major gripe, I'd say, for a lot of people. I'd say if you really don't want to pay for it, it is definitely worth a rental. But when it comes down, it's definitely worth a purchase, and I think this game is brilliant. I give Wolfenstein: The New Order a 9 out of 10, and it is definitely worth picking up. When it comes down, because I think it is a little steep at its price, but I'm not going to deduct a point because of pricing, because why would you do that? That's kind of stupid. But it is still worth this. So that's my review of Wolfenstein: The New Order. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching. If you can, share this among your Twitters, your Facebooks. You can follow me on Twitter at RichardG234. Subscribe if you've not subscribed to this channel. There's loads of other stuff for you to see here. And I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys later. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, guys. Take care.